Okay. We've got quite a lot of power coming to the system right now. An awful lot of power, actually. Oh, my lord. Please mop this up. That's the problem with having steam in here, is that it can get out. There's a little bit of an irritation. Hadn't really considered this system thoroughly. I really had hoped to just make use of all of this power. Honestly, at this rate, it would have been easier to just have it in... Oh, my lord. To have it all set up in here instead. And just allowed the industrial brick to also be a power area. Right, finally. Last 2 bits of copper. Then we'll strip this down. Replace this with more airflow tiles. Eventually, it'll all heat up, but if there's liquid in here, it'll probably get flashed by being next to the metal tiles. That's my hope, anyway. Oh, looks like we've just about got everything ready. Let's grab you. Now, over here I'm going to want a sweepy dock, which means I'm also going to need to cool that sweepy dock. Honestly, I could just allow multiple vents to leave out there if I really wanted to. Maybe. First and foremost, though, let's go with sandstone. Start filling in this area, which is eventually going to be completely sealed off. We'll have a sweepy dock. We're going to have an automatic, an auto sweeper. And ideally, everything that sweeper brings in is going to be sent to, along the conveyor rails, into this automatically. That's my goal. Well, it's midnight here, so good night, everyone, and Aavak. Have a good stream, all. I'll take care, Klei. Thanks for stopping by, mate. When's the next Factorio episode? I don't have a strict schedule with that, so I can't answer you directly, but sometime soon, hopefully. Take care, Emperor Bulby. Have a good sleep. Shakal Draconis, what were we changing about the power chamber? It seems to have been pretty well set up in the previous streams. Okay, well, I have the idea, that's always the problem, really, to cool it passively. Because everything in the power chamber could handle extremely high temperatures. So I thought, oh, you know what? I'll just have this run. I'm fine with it being really hot in there as long as it sinks its heat with the steam room. It'll never go above like around 200 degrees. Of course, didn't properly consider the ramifications of that, considering it was going to have a load of polluted water in there, which is now turned into steam, which is a problem. The CO2 that's been generated is compacting, which is fine. But yeah. It's not the best solution. It's not the best scenario for us to have, really. Here's the thing. This steam itself, then, is just being vented out by little bits and bobs up here, which are slowly converting it all, but you know, it's happening. It's not the best scenario. Let's just be perfectly honest with that. Still, it is what it is. There are lots of things that, how do I consider... Oh, wow, there's like no CO2 in there. How? There's just no CO2. We've not set up any of the other systems to handle providing CO2. I had hoped that this would work, but alas, no. So as a temporary bench, I mean, I'm delivering little bits here and there. I mean, to be fair, actually, while this is running, I've got enormous amounts of it to deliver. So I suppose that's not too bad. We are constantly adding more, but still, we need a lot more. And we are sending a decent amount of stuff over there. Honestly, I kind of feel like having a little filter down here and just allowing this pump to just go ham. Just send as much stuff that isn't CO2 up topside as it's capable of doing. That actually might not be a bad idea. It sincerely might not be a bad idea. Alright. Let's deconstruct this. Deconstruct this as well. This was meant to be a space episode. It's funny how I never actually get to the things that I want to get to. Hopefully there's enough. Yeah, there's plenty of room on this to be able to handle that. Okay, let's get that running down, this running across, delete these. Only CO2 gets sent that way. I'm going to want this done actually fairly urgently, and I guess at this point I'll just pull apart the automation wires. Since I don't want this limited by automation, I just wanted to pump whatever it's got out. Eventually that'll start becoming things like CO2. Now, if I send that up there, right, what's happening over here? Right now, it should be sending it should only be sending natural gas up top. What I should be getting down here is CO2 goes through there, and anything else gets vented if it manages to get past that. I'm not using filters, though, which is a problem. I really should be using filters. What I could do is have a filter all the way up here that checks if this is natural gas, and if it is, shunts it onto that line. That would be quite useful. And we'll use an actual filter, not a mechanical filter that we've got down there. I mean, it's a cool thing to play around with. But we are, for all intents and purposes, you know, just kind of bullying the game's code, where it's had to do something to continue to be functional realistically, and we've just kind of broken that in non-certain terms. We're preying on the fact that it can't allow multiple gases or multiple elements to occupy the same space at the same time. At this point, if this is natural gas, then I want it going the other way. But anything else is allowed up there. Chlorine, oxygen, sour gas, polluted oxygen. If there's anything else that comes up this way, it's allowed through. This one hasn't been set up to use carbon dioxide. There we go. So carbon dioxide now will only go this way. So the only thing we're going to pump up there is chlorine. Over here, I could replace this with a regular pump. I mean, while we're flush with energy, it's an easy choice to make, but obviously we're not always flush with energy. That being said, starting to look increasingly like we might be for a while, so... It has been a... Oh, poop. Okay, that one can't exist there, so we're going to just have to skip that, that tile for now. Can we fit this in? Yes, we can, Marvelous. And I can safely excavate that much at the very least. Those are all 7s, that's cool. We will then want some gas pipes. This will need to branch across and then go up. And all of these will go down. And branch over like so. This one can honestly go away. You can actually get faster throughput of materials by using bridges in more places, which is a bit of an interesting one. Looks like we've hit the... Oh no, we're bringing up natural gas from there. I keep calling it methane. I guess it may as well be, but... Valid construction. That's fine. Those will be constructed once I've dug away more of the material around them. Hello, Atomic Blue Shell. How are you doing, mate? Good morning, Anctus. Alright, well, with that done, let's go ahead and finish this off and start filling that in with sandstone. And then over here, I do need to make sure that I'm using this correctly. I think the sweepy dock could possibly be there. Well, a sweepy dock is too tall. In fact, I could have everything in here just occupy this really, really tight little space there. I think that might actually be well worth it. It's not as tall as I would usually like rooms to be, but I think it's still going to be a fairly good size for everything that I want to do with it. Oh, damage over heat. Let's check out what that is. Oh. Yeah, I suppose it is getting quite warm down here. Okay, well, in that case, let's disconnect that. Deconstruct both of them and replace them with steel then. That's kind of a pain in the bum, but oh well. There's not a lot I can do about it at this point. Rather than continually trying to repair it, it'd be a lot better to just strip that apart. Right, so, first and foremost, there we go. We need to set that up correctly again, and then this, there we go. Get those rebuilt. Right, we've got more principles. Coal. Always good to have some coal. I feel bad about turning down a meat, but, well, you know, it is what it is. Right, now, if I were to open this up, I'm fairly certain that my robo miners would just get blatted. So we're going to hold off on that for the time being. I guess at this stage we could actually go ahead and hook these up, though. Let's have a watch of... This is one of the only robo-miners that's been active, and it's currently at 59.9, where it has been for quite some time. This one is at 87.3, because I completely forgot that it was going to be able to tear everything down over there. And I'm a massive, massive moron. Damn it. Oh, well. However, we should start seeing these cooling down a bit. Or, in the case of the stuff that I'm bringing up, which is 72 degrees, it's going to heat them up. But, it will ultimately cool this one down. Or maybe not. What temperature are we bringing up here? That's actually warming up. Interesting. Why is that, then? Let's have a look at this. Chlorine is 67. Okay, yeah, we've got some of this chlorine. It's crazy hot. Still, though, it would control the temperature if the temperature was in the realms of you know, the hundreds. It would pull that temperature back down. Yeah, a decent amount of this is actually quite warm at this point. So it's technically doing the opposite. But again, the goal here is to keep the temperature below 275, and as long as the stuff we're pumping up is below that temperature, then we're good. I could put a little bit of drywall around the miners, yeah. Just to hold the gas there just for a tiny bit longer. We can certainly see how that will play out. Yeah, hello. Everything here is heating up a bit. I mean, I could spend some energy to cool it down. If I wanted to. It's not a huge concern for me right now. I've got a feeling that this will fix itself in time, but... That said, the chlorine is rather hot that we're pumping up here. Let's head on all the way down, just have a quick look at where we're drawing it from. Yeah, everything around here is reasonably warm. The natural gas is going to be like 62 degrees. Once we get up to there, it's going to be reasonably warm, but it doesn't seem to be cresting 100, and honestly, that's fine. We've got the temperature there, 70, 50.9. 49-ish. See the temperature in these areas. If I have a look at this, I mean, to be fair, temperatures are actually reasonably warm. Wow! Chlorine at 140. How is it getting that hot? Unless... Oh, of course. Of course. I've used rather shockingly warm materials. It's normalizing its temperature against the crazy hot obsidian that's been in contact with all the mafic rock for a long time. So that is the problem there. Glad I realized that. Okay, so we've got a little bit more of a construction problem then. Once again, let's strip these down. And the same over here. I am going to replace these with insulated gas pipes. I may, in fact, run them through something to just cool them down a little bit first. I mean, I'm going to be paying energy for that, which is it's not exactly what I want to do, but still. I feel it's better for me to cool it rather than pump hot air over it. And still, the idea here was more for it to be a passive system. All it needs to do is to cool it more than 200 degrees. So it may be sufficient to just prevent it from heating up too much from the material it's moving through. But yeah, that does seem to be the cause of my problems there. It's the fact that it was moving through all of that extremely hot material. I could just leave it not moving through that, not build up anything over it. But yeah, the obsidian down here, for example, is 118 degrees. It's cooling here and there, but yeah. All right. Problem solved. Well, I mean, at the very least, we understand what's going on, and that in and of itself is a big part of the learning process. As long as we're understanding the whys and wherefores, then it's okay. At least as far as I'm concerned. I'm going to let them fix that on their own, because honestly, this is just going to continually cool this down. So for now, that isn't actually that much of an issue for me. How are we doing down here? We're actually moving on to the third set now. You're going to have enough natural gas to run our generators for quite some time, I suspect. That one pump down here is doing a fairly great job of it. Pipes can take more than we're giving it, though. So maybe we should. How much more load can I put on this wire? I can put on a decent amount, actually. Can I afford? Yes, I can. Okay. There we go. This should allow the amount of gas that we're able to shift to increase quite substantially. How many generations of pips have been here at this point? We're 1,452 cycles into the game. What is the average pip lifespan? Question, does space provide any cooling at all? No. It's a really common question, though. But space doesn't provide cooling. Effectively, cooling isn't... Nothing is cold in the same way that nothing is dark. Darkness is simply the absence of light, and cold is simply the absence of energy, specifically thermal energy. I mean, all energy is thermal, depending on the way you look at it. But... Oh, dear. But in effect... The consequence of space being a vacuum means that there's no transmission medium. There technically is, but for our purposes in Oni, there isn't. There's nothing for the energy, the energy stored in an object that's giving it its heat to move through or out into. So you've got. Let's imagine you have a block of incredibly hot metal. You put it in a bowl of water. That energy is escaping into the water. The water isn't cooling the metal down. The metal is shedding its energy into the water. It's trying to find equilibrium. All things are trying to equalize. It's just the metal can contain an enormous amount more energy than the water can hold. So the water turns to steam, so on and so forth. We won't get into the details too much. But in space, there's no water, there's no air, there's nothing for the energy to move into. So the energy just sits in whatever's generating the heat and continues to accumulate until eventually that thing... in real life, for example, you might have a radiator of some sort of metal on the... Let's say you've got a spaceship and you want to cool it down. You'd have heat pipes going out of the spaceship. It's not cooling down in space. Instead, it's getting so hot it starts to glow, and when it glows, it's now shedding its energy in a different way. But it's still shedding its energy, so the heat is leaving it, because the heat is simply a function of how energetic it is. Probably a little bit more than you were really bargaining for with that question, but hopefully that has answered your question for you. I mean, space is not a perfect insulator. It certainly isn't a perfect insulator, but it's a pretty good one. I want to strip that away so I can get up there and properly take all of the everything out and get in there and upgrade those pipes. Yeah, this is now overheating. This system was not designed to handle really, really hot materials. It's getting a lot better now. Like, the addition of those insulated pipes has meant that the gas that we're moving through now is only like 50 degrees instead of hundreds of degrees, but still. It is efficient, yeah. Industrious. Again, the thermos flasks use a principle known as a Dewar flask, and that is, it's a vacuum between two layers. That you've got an internal chamber that is surrounded by vacuum, and then outside of that is the actual outside shell. And because there's vacuum between the internal chamber and the outer shell, heat transfer is extremely minuscule. Typically, you would coat the inside of the outer shell in something that would also reflect light, and because, again, it's not a perfect insulator. Heat doesn't only have to move in that way, it can move around in different ways. But yeah. If there's no radiative transfer of heat model, the vacuum is actually a perfect insulator. Oh yeah. I actually, you know what? I didn't manage to get to the Dewar flask part. I read as far as thermos, using thermos flask. Yeah, sorry, you did actually mention Dewar flask by name. My apologies, mate. Right, okay, you need to stop building this because it's just going to keep breaking. There we go. Now you can rebuild it, and it should. Well, actually, once that's sorted, it should work. Hello, Aavak and chat. Thought I'd drop in to check on the derps. The derps are, well, they're being derp. As per usual, but, you know. No, come on. Double click. Why? It's getting to such a degree now. I'm starting to wonder, is it me? Or is it my mouse? Is my mouse just double clicking? Or is there some sort of malfunction in my nervous system? Am I double clicking? I just don't know. I can't tell. This is quite distressing. Well, let's get this place cleaned up. And there we go. And now that we've got it cleaned up, let's replace that with obsidian. We will get to the battle in just a moment. Chat, do not worry. We shall not linger. But I do want to get this job sorted so that I haven't got all of these vents opened while we're taking care of the battle. And up we go. And then over here. See? Oh, I wonder if we have got enough steel to be able to... We do, actually. You know what? Sure. We're going to replace all of these with steel. That should, in the long run, solve a lot of the problems here. Yeah, it's a bit of an expensive solution, but it's not a terrible one. How many shovels have we got at this point? Remind me to check the stats of our shovels later. We must have stupid amounts by this point. You know it'll drive you as mad as it'll drive me, so let's get it all clean. Alright, 8, 100 grams a second, please. Unfortunately, right now it's venting a whole kilo a second, which is exactly not what I want. Right, has that been adjusted? Yes, it has. So let's close this off. There we are. Now, if you're wondering why I'm making it out of obsidian, it's so that future shovels can't scurry out there and then enter my base by going through these walls. The fact that shovels can burrow through anything, well, not everything softer than obsidian, but most things. Oh, so annoying. So crazy bad. Right, does that need any more work? Does this need any more work? No, they have both been set up. Good, good, good. Let's get them replaced. Obsidian in all the right places. That one is sorted now. Right, the CO2 in here is now rather warm. And it is pulling the heat out of the obsidian. There we go, as you can see. And then it vents. It doesn't linger long enough to cause me significant problems, but you know, it is there for a while. But it does vent fast enough that we don't have to deal with too much problem. Sorted over here as well. Let's get that all built up. I could leave that exposed. Technically speaking, it doesn't actually matter if I don't. What I could do over here instead is just put some drywall in there. That will seal that aperture. And that's realistically all I really needed there. I was just being a bit fussy with building up the massive walls. Technically speaking, it probably was pulling away some of the heat though, which was rather good. Yeah, as you can see, the heat is moving. It's equalizing between all of these tiles, which is a bit of an issue for me. What I could do... Now there, this is it. It's an unorthodox solution. What? I could build temp shift plates made of ice to draw out some of the heat rather aggressively. Okay. Now that that is all finished, though, we can now finally head over to Stream Raiders. Just needed, like I said, I wanted to get that sorted before I got distracted with anything else.